So what I see in the next 90 or 100 years, I see it working, that non-Indigenous and Indigenous people will be able to walk together freely in love, peace and harmony, and respecting each other and valuing such a rich culture that we have to share with anybody on this planet.
Mm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Landmark Difference Makers. My name is Seamus Ford. I'm Landmark's Director of Community Engagement, and today we're going to be interviewing Murray van de Veer and Wayne Carberry. Murray van de Veer is a filmmaker and a storyteller who delves into the intersections of Australia's environment, its First Peoples, and the enduring legacy of colonisation. Murray creates powerful films exploring cultural resilience, environmental stewardship, and the complex relationships forged during colonization through his company Moving Words and Pictures. Murray's passion lies in examining the pivotal time of colonization, where the lives of the colonizers and Australia's First Peoples intersected in ways that continue to shape the nation. His work unearths stories of collaboration, conflict, and cultural exchange, presenting them through the lens of shared history and reconciliation. A key project of Murray's is Yarning on Country, a program co-designed with his collaborator Wayne Carberry, a Yuin Walbunja man with a deep connection to culture and community. Together, they're crafting a film and cultural journey to support the spiritual and emotional well-being of a group of local Aboriginal men, many of whom are reconnecting with their heritage for the first time. Wayne's perspective will feature prominently in this discussion, highlighting his journey of Yuin fishing traditions, his love of the sea, and his vision for creating spaces where cultural and healing intersect. Welcome to both of you. I'd like to just go ahead and give you a chance to say a little bit about yourselves.
Well, I think it'd be really appropriate, first up, if it's okay. We're on Yuin country, and it's important that Wayne say a little about Yuin Walbunja country.
Yeah, I could share something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my traditional country, and I'm from the Yuin Nation, Walbunja man, proud Walbunja man, and growing up in this beautiful, special place that I call home, and having nature and my cultural way of life was very important for me growing up, and the foundation that comes from that is a beautiful one, being able to share all these wonderful gifts to anybody, all walks of life. And that's what my people, my culture is all about, is sharing knowledge and, being open to have anybody come to my country, that we look after them with love and respect and just acknowledge each other is very powerful alone. And it's just a really special thing. But I just want to say there's lots of love, and that opens the door for many things. So I just remain in that beautiful, that mindset, being able to share my beautiful culture with anybody.
That's great. I'd like to also acknowledge something Wayne just said, which is about the generosity. I can confirm through his history work that I've been doing that the Indigenous people do indeed and have a history of sharing with white Australians. The first stories that I started, the thing that got me started in this area, were stories about the Aboriginal pathways through the region. And those Aboriginal pathways have become, in many cases, the major roads that we use. And they were absolutely vital for the early settlers to move through country. And without that, they, that would have taken a hell of a lot longer. And they were often taken to those places by Aboriginal people. Yeah. So and that's part of the generosity of Aboriginal people that isn't acknowledged, and it's one of the things that I seek to change through the films that I make. Yeah.
Well, the project that we want to talk about is Yarning on Country. Can you tell us about the origin of it and also how the two of you came to meet?
Well, I'll start with how we came to meet. We someone recommended that I work with Wayne. I was filming a, a Carberry event. It's called the Guyong Festival. So it's an event that's held down near Eden on the far south coast, which brings together Yuin people from the whole region and they come together to hold a Carberry and be a part of a festival. In the evening, it becomes a music festival, but they hold this big event and it's open to everybody. It's a beautiful, beautiful event. So a corroboree or a bunan, which is the correct term that the correct term for it in Yuin culture is like a powwow for your American viewers. It's the same type of thing for Aboriginal people. It's where they come together, a lot of music, a lot of dancing, and it's a beautiful event. I gave Wayne some of my camera equipment to help film that event, and he came back with the most beautiful images of it. And we were both really moved by the experience of that day. So that was how we came together initially, and we've been working together for over a year now since then. And we just recently did film this year's event together. Sorry, what was the other part of that question?
What is Yarning on Country?
Oh, sorry, yarning on country. So yarning on country is Wayne's idea, and there's an opportunity for some funding to produce a film through an organisation called Fire to Flourish, which there were massive bushfires along the whole east coast of Australia. Massive fires, the worst in Australian history, and so there was funding available for recovery projects, and we were looking at a project to help men with mental health issues. And Wayne came up with a brilliant idea. Did you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
I can shed a little bit of light
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So the idea sort of stems from me growing up as a diving and hunting and gathering all around my country, and but I noticed that when a group of men and older men went out on country, that we would sit and would really express and offload about our personal stuff back home, and if it was relationship breakdowns, all sorts of stuff. And it was a safe place for these young men and older men to really express themselves. And it was actually being out on country, doing the things that we truly, truly love. And it's been connecting on country, connecting near water, hunting and gathering. And I just thought, well, hearing their cries basically, that we could project their voices a little bit more clearer and really showcase the real passion and what it means to be deeply connected on country, and what, as a hunter and gatherer, what it truly means to us. It wasn't us just going out to collect food and bring home for our families. It was all about that deep root connection and stories, and a safe place for us men to talk and express. And I just found that every time they went home, they were feeling that one little bit that one little step in the right direction of feeling a little bit more confidence, using their voices a little bit better and a little more. But not only that, going home to be you know, a better husband, a better partner, a better dad, and really tying those in the deep connection about having the family unit and how important that is. In it's so important for everybody, but having this setting to it to be able to give these young men their voices, and that me and Murray would showcase it in a beautiful film that he's doing, The Hunting and Gathering. You know, I'm I'm a big time water baby. I've spent all my life in there, so I'll be capturing the stuff in the water. Murray be getting the stuff from the land, and we're able to show something beautiful, with a deeper connection and understanding, to these young men going out, not only getting a feed, because it goes so much deeper than that, you know.
What was it like, Wayne, to suddenly have a camera and this opportunity to document, the people that you clearly love and are so connected to?
Um, I just thought, what a great opportunity. I'm able to use these beautiful stills, the footage, and then and have something to really show the story, what it comes down to. And but like having a little bit of knowledge in the film photography, but I truly love that. And I spent all my life growing up in nature and around nature. So I learned all these natural skills by being able to read the light, being able to um, shoot it from a different perspective. And a lot of my friends around me are surf photographers and filmmakers. And I've got other really good friends that are great videographers, and also having the opportunity that any opportunity is a good one. It's seeing something not only to enhance my skills, but to listen to their story and let other people shine. And it's about community. It's about all those things.
What is something that you discovered that you didn't know in this process?
I've always loved having a team to be able to do something. I spent a lot of time working as a team, in a team settings. But being to have someone that loves film and photography, and having Murray skills available, and I'm just I'm a walking sponge. I'm gonna take all those great and wonderful skills that he has to share, and we're both going to learn from each other, and that's a two-way street.
Being on the other side of a camera in a community that you're a part of, I'm wondering if you've seen the opportunity to view things through that lens has allowed you to see anything that you haven't seen before about your community or the country you love.
It's just seeing people that one, they already know me, and so instantly, if I've got a camera, the barriers come straight down. I'm able to communicate, film, and they don't feel, most Indigenous, First Nations, Indigenous people from here are very shy people. And I've noticed if they see a familiar face, a friendly face, that they're able to feel a little bit more relaxed in getting a few photos of them, or taking a bit of footage.
I'd just like to add that Wayne's like a sponge. Like I've been an educator in film and photography, and I set him a task, and he just dives into it and comes back with something wonderful, and has this tense. Like we were up till really late the other night working on the computer because he wants to learn that side of it as well, you know. And I think he wanted me to teach him all of it there and then. It's a much bigger process than that. But it's wonderful working with somebody so enthusiastic about learning. Yeah.
You know, there's an expression that history is always told by the victors.
Mm.
And, you know, clearly the relationship between white Australians and Indigenous Australians, the story's been told by white Australians more often than not. But now
Yeah.
you're putting a camera in the community and giving the community to be able to tell their own story. What's the story you want people to know through this project?
Um, I I want people to know just how rich the lives of you and men are. Like simply that, I believe could make a real difference. Because there's a terrible stereotypical attitude towards Aboriginal people. But I see Aboriginal people who have amazing lives and do incredible things. You know, we were one of the people we work with. We spoke to at the end of the day yesterday, and he just won an award and was presented at Parliament House with this award, right? And he's one of the people that we'll be working with on this film, you know, and he's so lit up by that. And he's so deserving of that award, which he won for his work in the community, you know. The thing that I see about Aboriginal communities like that is um, they're so giving towards one another, and there's a big lesson for white Australia just in that. And there are so many lessons about culture for white Australians. So that's what I want to for them to take from the film is just how rich the lives of Aboriginal people are. Yeah.
Murray, you know, when we talked prior to the interview and, you know, when you agreed to be interviewed, one of the things that came up in our conversation was um, I got the sense that you had to push yourself past considerations. You know, who am I to try to help tell this story? And I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, you know, what, you know, with you sitting there next to Wayne with this partnership, what was it like? Like, what did you have to, what
To
did you have
push
to get
past.
settled for yourself to push past, you know, your worry about what might happen?
Well, um, one the big one for me is I have taken on to put myself in positions where I have. So sorry, I'll give you some background to that story first. So I'm working with a sixth generation landowner who's recently given back a large 1,500 hectares of land back to the Yuin people um, as a gift for them to, and he's involved with what they do there, but to explore their own culture and also to grow their typically to do the kind of agriculture that Aboriginal people would have done 250 years ago on that piece of land. That has caused, which was a beautiful gift, but when that was given, what happened was the past came up and it came screaming loudly in that there were two other Aboriginal nations who lay claim to that area, right? And so suddenly the past is in the present with that. And I I'm very close to an elder who has had a lot to do with that area, and she was very upset by it. So I brought her down to meet with that landowner, um, so that so that she could speak, and I just stepped back and let them speak. And we had a lovely lunch with the landowner. And since then, they've formed a relationship, and this elder has continued to bring her family down to that area because it's the place where her family originally lived 250 years ago before colonisation. So I've built a bridge there, So I had to push past that because I had no idea how that was going to go, and I was terrified of what might happen. Right, the last thing I want to be considered is an interfering white fella. Aboriginal people have had enough interfering white fellas, and they don't need more. Right. But I want to go further with that as well. And I want to bring this same elder to meet with the other tribal group that's down there and see what's possible there. Now, that's even more confronting because what I know about the history of those two tribes is that they were warring with one another 250 years ago. So there's an ancient grudge there. So that's even more confronting. So yeah, I've had to push past a lot in terms of going, well, if I don't do this, who will? This is something that is here for me to do. And so I've really had to push myself in ways that were uncomfortable, and I continue to do that, and then I discover something beautiful out of doing that. So that encourages me to keep going with pushing myself beyond those boundaries. Yeah.
Wayne, what was your impression of Murray when you first met him, of him and kind of what he's referring to and what he's dealing with?
First impression, I thought Murray was a real goer, and but I mean, he's just a great person, and that's how I want to see people. It's I live this life where I'm involved in so many beautiful things that when I see them, they're not just people. They're beautiful flowers. They remind me of the environment that I know so well. Growing up on my country, knowing my country like the back of my hand. That's what matters to me. And I don't see no color. I see beautiful people all around me, and that's me just being who I am from my heart, and that's the way I conduct myself every day, and probably explains why I know so many people and have so many beautiful friends.
Wayne's very charismatic in that way.
Yeah, it's having had a brief opportunity to meet him before the interview. It's very true. Well, I want to ask you a question because one of the things that's kind of present in our conversation here is this intersection between two cultures with a past. Here we are in 2024. We're multiple generations removed from the individual people that took the actions that they took, created the injustices, created the inequities. Yet we're dealing with the legacy of it. And in this conversation, wanting to be able to create a new future outside of all of that past. And I'm wondering, being on the ground, with this project, what do you see as really required for that, the healing of that relationship, even though this generation isn't the generation necessarily that caused the problem?
Yeah. I see that what's needed is an acknowledgement of the past. Landmark talks about honouring the past, and it can't be honoured if it's not acknowledged. In Australia, there's no acknowledgement of the frontier wars. There is in America. You describe them that way. I grew up, knowing more about that part of American history than I did about Australian history, right? And there are some incredible atrocities that were committed that I'm aware of, um, and and that's not even including the stolen generation, which Wayne's father was a part of. Um, I don't believe that there's a necessity um, for any kind of retribution or anything like that. I just think there needs to be an acknowledgement, and there needs to be an equality in that understanding, and there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of work to be done
Wayne, what
with
would
that.
you say in answer to that?
What would I say? Really, really simply putting it. So growing up, knowing nothing but nature, how beautiful, and that's a little bit of part I want to share about myself was at a very young age, there was this beautiful the scenery in nature and all my country that I know so well. And I was 9 years of age, and I went, "How beautiful is this?" And so I got nature and I pulled it inside my heart. This is how I can understand balance. If I understand nature, it's balance, I can understand respect. I can understand love. I can understand the beautiful balance. And if I can love and respect my own country and look after it as it would have been my own responsibilities, that I can love and respect anybody on this planet. That's how I put it.
That's beautifully put. Um, you have an opportunity in this conversation, I mean, this recording that we're making, to speak to people that, may live in a apartment in a city. They may experience being disconnected from the beauty of nature and all the lessons that it shared with you. What would you say to somebody about what not I was going to say what they're missing, but really, how would you invite somebody to discover the beauty that you see who lives in that place, separated from nature that way?
I would suggest that they go out and reconnect themselves with all the beautiful living things around us, that we should acknowledge how beautiful it is, and then acknowledge how beautiful you are as a person. Spend time, quality time with nature. Fulfill, find a purpose, something that is more meaningful to life, and then look after people, guide them, teach them, and share beautiful things. Most beautiful things that you could share is your heart and showing your love towards these people and doing an act of kindness. I do every day. I make sure that I do 2 beautiful things a day for anybody, any complete stranger, and show them that I acknowledge them. If it's a smile or a wave or a hello, it's a beautiful thing. Because if we learn to respect all living things, we learn to love and respect anybody.
Well, it kind of makes the question I was going to ask next perhaps redundant, but the original question I asked just now was about what's needed for a kind of reconciliation as the descendants of the people that started this. Um, and I hear in that appreciation of nature and the implicit lessons of nature, I hear that as key. But I'm wondering if you'd add anything to that, Wayne.
Um, I really think that what I learned, and I'm always going to connect myself back to nature, but what I learned is to really get in tune with all my senses. And if that means being able to smell the beautiful flowers, being able to listen to people, to be able to find the purpose and the meaning, something more meaningful for me in my life, and then give that to somebody else. And I always say that gift of that becomes a free gift for anybody. And so my motto is go out and just keep loving everybody, no matter what, no matter what your situation is.
Mm.
And that's all I do.
How lucky am I to be working with such a beautiful human being, eh? Yeah, it's great.
Well,
Mm.
one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Wayne, a commonality in our interview series is people have participated in Landmarks programs, and we talked a little bit about kind of what our courses are concerned for. But in the course of this project and the course of your work as a filmmaker, um, can you share anything about how what you've gotten out of Landmark programs contributes to what you do?
Yeah, look, there's a beautiful thing which I came across in Landmark a while ago, which is being a stand for all of life itself. And that single thing, and I've done a lot of work with them. Like I started with them over 30 years ago. I did the first time I did the forum. But that one thing, being a stand for all of life itself is something that I really took on, like to take responsibility for everything. And that's what I find in Wayne, like his love of nature and concern for the planet and all of that. That's what he's about, right? He takes that on in his way, right? I, mine's a little different. And so that drives me with looking at the at the colonial history and why that's still affecting badly so much of Australian culture. And that's that's a big driver for me is that simple ideal of being a stand for all of life itself. Mm.
Um, One of the other questions that I want to explore with you is, we're at this point in time where the medium of video has become so common,
Mhm.
and if you have a teenager, you might even argue that it's kind of replacing the written word as
Yeah.
it's like the preferred medium of communication. And as a filmmaker, you're right square in the middle of that medium,
Yeah.
communicating through images, communicating through moving pictures. But what do you see about the future of storytelling?
Well, what I see about that is also why I'm doing it, and that is that I'm out to preserve history, right, and to make it accessible, and that's what I talk about with my filmmaking, is that I'm there to preserve it and to make it accessible. So people don't read, probably because they're doing more of video and all that kind of stuff, right? They don't read like they used to. So a lot of those stories are easily lost. So making it accessible through video is a great way to have those stories told and brought into the present. So that's really what it is for me.
And when as part of a community that until relatively recently was remote outside of the dominant culture, what is this medium of video? Um, what kind of opportunities it represent for the future of indigenous communities?
It's pretty straightforward. It's about giving Indigenous people their own voices. It's about letting them speak about the pain and the suffering that they've gone through. It's about making them shine. It's about letting them tell their story. We are just there to help them bring it to light, to be able to educate and share of all the other stuff that non-Indigenous people and don't really understand about how much we love to look after our country and look after our people. Our family is everything. Our extended family is everything. Our land, our sea. We have built thousands and thousands of years building a relationship which starts with respect for everything. So it opens the doors to show people that it's not just these people living on their own country. They are deeply rooted and connected and have stories that come from the Dreamtime stories. We're able to have these these visuals that still tie us back to our place and where we come. And it's very rich and it's still alive and it's still well. And all we're doing is sharing that.
It's that ancient tradition of storytelling, isn't it? It's that too. Yeah.
So this is you may or may not, you don't want to answer a question. I'm certainly not asking you to answer on behalf of an entire community of people. But what's the possibility that you see 50, 100 years from now from the work that you're doing today?
Um, um, I see the possibility of it creating a change, being a part of. There's already a movement happening that is bringing change, but it's very slow. But I'd like it to be, the films and the things that we do to go into that archive of things that are known to have made a difference, to moving that conversation forward. I work very closely with a filmmaker named Alec Morgan, who made a magnificent film called Lousy Little Sixpence. And that film was the first film that spoke about the stolen generation in Australia. And that got that conversation started, right? So that's the kind of difference that I believe what we're doing can make.
Wayne, how about from your perspective for your community, for the Yuin community, or even the wider Indigenous community in Australia?
Well, I've made it a personal passion that I go out into this world and bring people together. And that is going to be my job until the day that I no longer stand on my country, that it's all about bringing people together and and listening and sharing in this stuff that is more beautiful than not, and projecting a powerful way is showing that respect, a two-way street where people can go and acknowledge each other, and non-Indigenous and Indigenous people can stand together in creating something more special and carving something so beautiful in the landscape. And the ultimate picture is having a beautiful picture that everybody shares. and helps in the creation of painting that story.
Well, I want to finish with one question. Yeah, anybody that pursues something with passion, there's something that moves you to express that passion. And I'm wondering if in this process you have one story you can share where you were deeply moved by this project.
I'm constantly moved by the generosity of Aboriginal people. Like that's a regular and ongoing thing for me. And it flies. Sorry, I'm being moved by it right now. I, um, and it flies in the face of what the stereotype is about Aboriginal people for most white Australians. The acceptance and generosity just that's a regular and ongoing thing for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Wayne, how about you?
Yeah, that's there's so many things that have moved me. Not only this project that we're working on, but I just truly believed that if I could be myself and just share that and share my kindness and my love and just stay on that level every single day, well then people are constantly moving each other. Because in our culture, we learn the first thing is respect. And we learn that if we respect all living things, we can respect anybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just must say it's just been a really genuine honor and privilege to have this conversation with both of you. I really, really thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks,
Seamus.
Yeah.